Hello and welcome to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors, precisionhydration.com.
Leaders in triathlete sweat testing and hydration with multi-strength electrolytes that match how you sweat. You can get 15% off with the code Oxygenaddict15.
And Team Oxygenaddict at team.oxygenaddict.com.
Event-specific training plans, coaching guidance from Coach Rob Wilby, and supportive teammates in a private Facebook group.
Hello and welcome to the show. And of course, it's been a huge racing weekend this weekend. We've had races at Ironman Wales. We've had the World Championship 70.3 over in Chattanooga and all kinds of other things as well. But most importantly, Helen, you raced Ironman Wales and you have survived.
Hey, I have. Rob, I'm here. I'm talking only just. I survived. It was like
it's a pretty brutal day in terms of course and weather, Helen.
Oh man, it was insane. It was kind of just crazy. You know, last week we were talking about the weather and then it looked like it might be getting better and then suddenly you're looking at 40-mile-an-hour winds and then race day morning, I think drabs of rain started just before the swim start and it was pretty insane weather. On the bike at one point the crosswinds were crazy and there was just driving rain, insane winds, and I think there weren't many people in just a tri-suit. So I think a lot of people had prepared well for, 6, 7, 8 hours out there in the elements. Yeah. And, but oh God, all day Saturday, I just couldn't, I was like, oh, what am I going to wear? I don't know what to wear. And then I just made a choice and I thought, right, I'm going to stick with that. And I just hope I don't get freezing cold. Yeah. And then even on the run, the winds were just insane and there were really heavy downpours of rain. So already on a tough course, it was, really hard going. And the first lap seemed okay on the swim. It did seem relatively calm, but then for some reason the second lap just seemed so much choppier. So that was kind of interesting. But the crowds, Rob, despite all that crappy weather, the crowd support was amazing. And I'm sure if it had been even more favourable conditions, there would have been even more people, but still they were standing outside and umbrellas and with all their outdoor kit and cowbells and just wishing everyone on and cheering you on up the hills. It was, pretty immense.
Brilliant. And we've got to give you a shout out here. 4th place in age group. Congratulations, mate. I was sitting here like the sado that I am at the computer with you and all my athletes on the tracker watching everybody's numbers updating. And it looks like you got in a bit of a battle there for a while for the 3rd place slot.
There was a bit of a battle going on. There was, obviously, I knew I wouldn't have a particularly quick swim, I'd say, compared to some other people in the age group, I guess, maybe like the top swimmers or whatever. So then you're always kind of playing catch up. And then I would never have a particularly strong bike compared to the top age groupers. It wouldn't be a bad bike, and then the run is usually where I can make up a few places. And typical Rob, I started off, felt great on the run, and then it just, I don't know, I think my last 10K, it must have taken me about an hour and 20 minutes. I'm not really sure. I haven't actually looked at the complete splits, but I think at halfway...
Tough day out, huh?
Halfway, I was still looking on for maybe like a 350 kind of, 345, 350 sort of run.
Yeah.
Ended up with a 4:16, so I definitely slowed. And then it's just mind games, isn't it? And you're thinking, oh well, I know I've just passed someone and they were walking, so I've got to carry on. And then there's just your mind's just like, I just want to walk, but then you're thinking, well no, I could, even if I try running, I'll be running a little bit quicker than the people who are walking, so I'll carry on. And then I just got obsessed with they had nachos in the aid stations. I was just like, I just need some food. Nachos and Coke. So I was eating nachos.
it just becomes a battle of attrition, I think, at some point, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
To give Ironman the due, they've changed the tracker system. And every time you crossed over a timing mat, it would give you an update on the predicted time of the finish of the bike, the predicted time of the finish of the run, based on, I'm guessing, your average speed over that last split that you did. And obviously updated all the athletes around you as well. So I had the top 5 in your age group up on my screen. And the second, third, fourth and fifth, you were all being predicted within a couple of minutes of each other to finish the bike, within a couple of minutes of each other in terms of your split and where you were on the road. Now, obviously, because of the rolling start, I don't think that would have been the same in real life, but all the way through the run, second, third and fourth, you were, and in fact, probably the women's from 8th through to 18th place, you were all being predicted within a few minutes of each other. So I was thinking, this is going to come down to an epic battle in the last 10 minutes and the last 10K. If everybody holds the same pace. And then, some people hold it, some people tail off a bit. And it was really interesting to kind of watch that play out, not in real time, but across a 12, 13 hour time period.
It's always difficult when you're actually out there because of the rolling swim start, you don't really know where you then stand. Exactly. Yeah. But personally, I like the rolling swim start because, just from a sort of not freaking out point of view with a zillion people around you in the water at the same time, it just feels a bit less stressful.
I was going to ask you about that, what your perception was of sort of running down and jumping in. How does it feel as you're swimming along compared to how it used to feel with the whole 1,500 people mass start thing?
Yeah, so I guess I can compare it to Austria, definitely, where that was still a mass start when I did Ironman Austria. And I just remember for the first sort of 45 minutes, it just felt like you're being hit everywhere. I'd say yesterday it's a lot calmer and you seed yourself where you think you will finish. But there were still lots of, still around the buoys, it felt quite, I don't know, what's the word, Rob?
Busy.
Congested.
Yeah.
Busy and congested around the buoys. And you still have a few people trying to swim on top of you, or I always think I'm quite good at swimming in a straight line. I don't know if I was particularly good yesterday. I suddenly looked up, I was like, oh, right, there's seems to be a boat in front of me. I better move to the left a bit. Because in Tembe, the sighting's quite difficult because they only have, they have sort of one buoy. Well, they have one buoy which you've got to stick on your left, and then a bit further on they have a buoy which you have to have on your right, and then you make the turn and you sort of swim across. And all they say is just sight the lighthouse. That's it. Right. So there is a buoy, but you obviously can't see it because it's quite a long stretch across. Yeah. Whereas, I don't know, let's go back to Zell am Zee, and they had a sighting buoy probably every sort of maybe 200 meters or so. So you could see quite easily where you were going, whereas yesterday, especially with the chop as well, and they just say try and spot the lifeboat house. It's like, oh man, and then spot the rock, and that's kind of it. It's a
proper adventurous swim, isn't it? It really is.
It is a proper adventurous swim. But Rob, I didn't see any jellyfish.
That's good news anyway, hey?
Oh God, yeah, that was a relief. A relief. And then on the bike, I did the bike kind of blind. So usually I'd wear my prescription sunglasses. But even there was another blooming dilemma because I was thinking, right, well, if I put them on, there's no point because it's going to start raining and I cannot see through them. I can't really, they're so badly scratched that I can't see through them at the best of times. But in dark and rain, I mean, honestly, it would just be pointless. Likewise with my glasses, I thought, they're just going to get wet. They're just going to annoy me. I'm not going to be able to see. So I went blind, or kind of Helen style, astigmatism, blind.
And imagine that must be pretty difficult on a course like Wales, where there's lots of twists and turns and corners and stuff. Was it okay?
Yeah, it's okay. It's just sort of, you're never really sure where the grids are and things like that. So I was super, super cautious, but then I stayed upright and I don't know. I hope everyone who did come off their bikes are okay.
Did you see a lot of spills?
I saw one spill, definitely at the bottom of a hill with a tight right turn. I didn't see them come off their bike, but I saw them on the ground waiting for paramedics, which is never nice to see. So I just hope that they're okay. And then, the run. I'm going to give a shout out here, Rob, to Joe Spraggins. He was bouncing along like a little bunny.
Did he have his Speedos on?
No, he didn't have Speedos on, but he just had some funky sunglasses and a headband. So, Joe, good work. Awesome stuff. And I met Joe at the pre-race talk. I also met Nigel from Team Oxygenaddict, the pre-race talk. And cool. Annie, another listener, came past me on the bike. She did really, really well in the age group. Not in my age group, in another age group. So she was 9th female overall in her first Ironman. Amazingly. So she said, "Oh, I listened to the podcast." And then, Rob, there was someone else who, I'm really sorry, I don't know your name, but I got changed afterwards, and there was a lady lying down, I think having a little moment, but then they obviously wanted to get her out into medical. So they put her in a wheelchair, and just even when she was in the wheelchair, just before being wheeled out, she said, "I love the podcast."
Oh, bless.
So I'm
last words.
Not sure of your name, but I really hope that you've made a swift recovery, and it was very nice to meet you. And hopefully next time it won't be in such I don't know, weird circumstances.
Yeah, bless.
Yeah, but Rob, so much support out on the course. It was incredible, and lots of random people going, "That's Helen Murray, go on Helen Murray," and John Levison gave me a big shout out the swim and in transition. So John, thank you, from Try 24/7.
He was doing the announcing, was he?
He was doing the announcing, part of the announcing team. Generally just lots of support from listeners and friends. Sue Pugh was out there cheering me on, and I did that race force weekend at Long Course Wales where I was like a race buddy. So the lady Merrill, who I was race buddying, she was out there. She was on Wiseman's Bridge on the hill cheering me on and just being a superstar. And then obviously family and friends as well, and Tri Club members. So yeah, it was a pretty epic and insane day out, and it was good to see. I was shouting Phil Graves on the run, going, "Come on, Phil!" And Lucy Gossage just floated past me, so she had a brilliant win, and it was really cool to see Paris Edwards complete her first Ironman as well and come in second. And I met Kate Comber too, so all good.
So loads of exciting stuff going on, hey?
Yeah.
Hey, well, listen, congratulations. I think 4th in age group is a brilliant result. You've still got that little trophy dangling out in front of you for the future, maybe. But I think first you need to rest up and eat some more chips before you think about what's next, hey?
Oh, I'm retiring, Rob, for a good few years from long distance. No, I'm not joking. I'm not.
I'm not suggesting that you are. I don't know anybody who doesn't retire the morning after an Ironman. No, that's all.
No. I said this before. This is the thing. I've said this for probably about 3 months. I am retiring from long distance races for a good few years after this race, and I should probably sort of say to people that part of the reason I wanted to do Wales was, I guess there was a little bit after Bolton last year. You kind of think, I wasn't completely run fit. Like, what could I do? I was completely run fit. Clearly start walking. But also, there's a bit of a spiritual connection as well, because I was cycling past the farm where my dad grew up. I was, relative to, I don't ever remember meeting, but they would have probably met me at the age of 5 or something like that. Like, they came out to support me from their farm down near Angle, saying, "Oh, that's Helen, go on Helen Murray." And then, running past, it's a now housing estate where my gran had a B&B in Tenby. Like, it was that, from that point of view, that was all pretty special to sort of go and do it. And like, nice. I'm proud of coming from Wales. So there was all that going on as well. And that's why I think a few more days time, when I look back on it, it was immense. Again, I think people know that my brother lives abroad, but he was home for sort of like a week, and he and his wife came down to watch. So all of that, it was awesome.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you had a really good weekend, mate. And I think it's a really, really solid performance. That fourth place is absolutely brilliant. And I know it wasn't quite the top three that you hoped for, but you know how much hard work you put into that result. And I just love the idea of you racing in your homeland and getting cheered on by loads of people who listen to the podcast. So good on you. You couldn't have trained any harder for the event, and you put a really great effort out on race day. And I'm really proud of you. So well done, mate. And I'm sure everyone else is as well.
Thanks. Thank you. And Rob, the other thing is, at least I'm consistent. I mean, seriously,
Two
how many
fourth places, mate. Yeah.
No, yeah, but not only in that, what have I done in 70.3s as well? So many fourth places in the age group. So that's where I'm at. It's all about fourth.
Well, listen, let's go over the overall results from Ironman Wales, and then we can cover some of the other results that happened this weekend as well. So first up, big shout out to our sponsors, Precision Hydration, over at precisionhydration.com. You can get over there and you can get 10% off with the code Oxygen, or you can get 15% off, with the code Oxygenaddict15. They have uniquely, what's the word I'm looking for here, Helen? Uniquely,
I'm not sure.
The concentrations of the salt in the packets is different, isn't it? That's what's different to the other hydration salts that are out there. So you can take their online sweat test. You can find out what kind of sweater you are, whether you're a heavy sweater or a salty sweater, and then you can get precision hydration salts that exactly match how you sweat, and that's going to help you keep in tip-top condition for your race. So check it out over at precisionhydration.com and use the code Oxygenaddict15 over at the checkout. So first up then, results from Ironman Wales. We had in the men's race a great race from Cameron Worth, didn't we? Did you see him out on the course?
No, I didn't notice Cameron Worth.
Didn't see him at all. So he took out the win in 9:07 from epic battle, it looks like, with Phil Graves in second in 9:09 and Christian Kramer in third in 9:14. So that's 2 seconds for Phil Graves now, isn't it?
Yeah. That's brilliant. He looked very solid on the run.
It looked like he was chasing him down on the run. I think he closed the gap down. I think a bit of a gap opened up. They were both out the swim together, and then a gap opened up on the bike, and Phil closed it down on the run. So it'd be interesting to talk to him and find out how his race was actually.
I was going to say, Phil definitely had the third place bike with him for a bit of that run. So I think he ran himself into second.
Yeah, cool. Good stuff. Ladies race, you've already mentioned, another fantastic win for Lucy Gossage. Pretty amazing working as a full-time doctor and winning your second Ironman in the UK in the year, right?
Oh, amazing. Yeah, she does usually 3 days a week as an oncologist. And absolutely stonking result from Lucy. And she honestly, as I said, she just floated past on the run. Flew even, not floated. Flew and floated.
I'm pretty sure it didn't feel like floating to her though, right?
No, but it looked like it. So yeah, 10:11, the winning time for Lucy. Fantastic.
Cool. And Paris Edwards was in second and Kate Comber in third.
Brilliant.
Cool stuff. Right then. Next big race of the weekend was, of course, the World Championship 70.3 event over in Chattanooga, where we had wins for both Javier Gomez and Daniela Ryf. So shall we start with the ladies' race on this one?
Yeah. Now, Rob, I did see most of the run on Saturday afternoon. Once I had racked, I just sat and chilled out. So I did see a lot of the run, and Emma Pallant was... Oh, actually, sorry, as a commentator said, Emma Plant. From Surrey. Yeah, Emma Plant. Just call her Pallant. My God. She was really, I think she just went for it on the run to try to chase Ryf down. And for a big chunk of it, looked like she was running more fluidly than Daniela Ryf. But actually, I think Ryf is quite almost deceptive in her running style, in that boy she moves, but it doesn't look as natural as Pallant running. So yeah, absolutely impressive stuff from Emma Pallant to come away with second. So Daniela Ryf took the win out in 4:11, and then there was a bunch that sort of came off the bike together. Emma Pallant second 4:18, and then Laura Philipp of Germany third in 4:19. Another person who can very much run, and then Sarah True ran her way up to fourth as well in 4:21. So former ITU, maybe still doing a bit of ITU, not totally sure, but yeah, Sarah True in fourth.
Yeah, fantastic run from Emma Pallant there to go 1:19 on that run. I think amazing run to to battle your way through. I'm going to apologise a bit. I've had tonsillitis all week, and my voice is just a little bit raspy still.
Wow! I should have said as well. Holly Lawrence, DNF, she pulled out.
Yeah, there was something I read that said she missed the starting horn on the bike and then missed on the swim. When the thing went off, she missed that and then sort of missed the pack on the swim, and I guess was playing catch up for the first 25 miles on the bike. And then she pulled the pin at that point, didn't she?
Yeah, she revealed as well a few weeks ago that she'd been struggling with an injury going into it as well. So I don't know, perhaps that might have played a factor. Don't really know. Yeah.
Okay. Now, over in the men's race, the overall result, I think, is one that lots of people expected, with Javier Gomez taking the win with just a stonking 1:10 half marathon. To take that was just unbelievable.
I love that. Honestly, yeah, wow.
I think the manner of the win, though, is an interesting one in that I think Ben Canute is a name people were aware of before the start, but possibly weren't expecting him to have the effect on the race he did. Him and Gomez went off the front in the swim and came out pretty much together. And then Canute just went for it on the bike. And I think he ended up with something like 4 minutes lead on the chase pack. Gomez dropped back into the chase pack. And there was something like 10 guys got off the bike together in second. Sebi Kienle had ridden himself up to that pack and then dragged the pack along for a long time. And it looked like on the coverage there was a few moments of him sort of looking around and going, come on, someone's got to come through and do some work with me here. But off the bike they got, and Gomez just went for it with that 1:10 half marathon. And then we had Tim Don run through for third place as well. So we ended up with Gomez taking the win, 3:49, Ben Canute in 3:51, and Tim Don in 3:52. So, amazing racing.
All former, sort of ITU Olympian kind of athletes as well, aren't they? Yeah. Interestingly. Yeah. Tim Don, nice little 1:13 there.
Very impressive. Yeah. He's always had that run speed, hasn't he? And it's when he gets it right for the big occasions, he really gets it right.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome. And the course as well in Chattanooga looked like a very, honest course. Nice and chunky and hilly, and it looked pretty special out there.
Yeah, I think they had 5 miles to a climb, and then they climbed 1,000 meters over 3 miles, so it was a proper mountain climb.
Yeah.
And a real good way to try and separate out the pack. So yeah, good work. Awesome racing.
Nice.
Now, other races we had going on this weekend, the Etu Long-Distance Championships took place at the Race Challenge Almere over the Ironman distance race. I think Almere in Amsterdam is the second longest running iron distance race in the world, I think, if I've got that right. I think it's been going for longer even than Ironman Lanzarote. And it formed the Etu Long-Distance World Championships. And good news for people we've had on the podcast, we had wins for Britain's Joe Skipper and the Netherlands' Yvonne van Vleuten.
Yeah, and Joe went under 8 hours, finishing in 7:59:39. And Yvonne van Vleuten as well got a new race record of 8:51.
Yeah, Joe took that out there just under the 8 hour mark. Sounds like it was a real head-to-head battle where he had to battle Viktor Zemeshev, who took second in 8:03. And then Jaroslav Jokovic took third in 8:05. The stonkingly fast course on the right day. It sounds like it was hideous weather conditions there as well. So to put such a fast time out in those weather conditions is super impressive.
Yeah, chapeau. Well done. Well done.
That's Joe's Kona right there. Congratulations, Joe. And the only other race we want to mention from this week were the British Middle Distance Championships took place at the Vitruvian down in Rutland Water. So we had wins in the men's race for, let me scroll up the page here. For George Goodwin, took it out in 3:44, so amazingly fast time there, with 2:01 on the bike and 1:13 on the run. That's amazing. It's a little bit shorter than the full half marathon distance, I think, but still, that's an amazingly fast time. So George Goodwin takes first, James Phillips takes second in 3:57, and Paul Lunn takes third in 4:02. Over in the ladies' race, we had Alice Jenkins take it out in 4:28 with Elaine Garvican in 4:31 and Co McGawley in third in 4:36. So
former podcast person, Rob.
Yeah, there we go. I've had her on. I want to give a shout out to Team Oxygenaddict member Gareth Petts, who took third in the male 30. Congratulations for that, mate.
Awesome. Shall we move on to the interview, Rob, or Coach's Couch?
Let's do Coach's Couch next, I think.
Okay, I love this question. How do I avoid the Ironman blues at the end of my season?
So this question has come from one of the athletes that I coach in the team, and I thought it would be particularly fitting to have it on this weekend. I think, especially in the UK, Ironman Wales represents the culmination of a lot of hard work. You know, we're into September. Most iron distance races are kind of getting drawn to a close for the year across the world, but certainly in the UK, this forms a culmination of a lot of people's weekends. And I had a sort of an athlete consultation with someone the other day where we went over his race plan for Wales, and then his last question, which I thought was really interesting, was, you know, in the past I've raced and I've done all this hard work, and then I've been really, really down afterwards, and I was wondering if you've got any pointers for what to do after the race to kind of help avoid that. So I came up with a few points to have a little think about. The first one is, I think the 5 points is, plan some downtime after you've had your race. I think you've got to accept that when you've done your big race, you need to take some time off, and you need to plan to take at least a week, and ideally 2 or even 3 weeks of doing nothing triathlon related, unless you fancy going out for a ride, a run, or a swim. So don't do any structured training, just do stuff that you fancy to keep yourself moving. After that, and the point we're at in the season here, you've still probably got September, October with triathlon races going on, but find yourself some races to do if you fancy it. You're probably the fittest you're ever going to be during the season. So if you want to do some sprints or Olympics, great. If you want to go out and do running races or time trials or sportives, just go out and do some stuff for fun that'll keep you moving and get you through that sort of blank spot in September and October. And then my third point is, you need to plan after this to take a total end of season break for 4 weeks. So this can either be right now and take your total break now after you've done your big race, or do a little bit for a few weeks and then think, right, October really is going to be downtime. And I really like taking October as downtime as a month, because it then leads you into the point where you get to the end of October, the clocks change, it gets dark, winter's here for definite in November. And then if you've scheduled to take October off, you're then usually ready to get back into training in November. Usually I see if you continue your racing and your training full on through October, you can get into November and then you end up feeling a bit burnt out. So I think scheduling that time in October, if you've raced late season, can be a real good plan. Then I think the next way to go is do a season review. Go over what went well and what you want to improve, but do this during your downtime. Give yourself a serious break before you do your season review. Go over what went well for you this year. Go over what you'd improve for next year. Go over the few points for what you might change and what you've learned this season. But write it down. That's a real key point, because you probably won't remember how you feel now in another 6 weeks or 6 months' time. So if you get all that done in your end of season review, it might be that you think to yourself, do you know what? I really thought I was going to love racing Ironman Wales in September, but actually I found I got to September and I was absolutely exhausted and it was too late in the year. So maybe what you've learned about yourself is, I need to race in June or July. It might be that September racing works perfectly for you, but whatever it is that you've learned, write that down in your end of season review, and then you've got something to look over in November and December when you're making your plan. And then my last tip is, make a plan for next season. Sit yourself down once you've done your review and think, okay, I'm going to do this next year. And I know a lot of you will have your races planned in already, but get your season planned out, get your training planned out. If you're going to be self-coached, this is the time to sit down and sketch out your plan for your training for your year. If you're going to be getting coached, this is about the right time to be sitting down and thinking, right, I need to be getting myself on the coaching plan in October or November so I know exactly where I'm going. And yeah, line up your races for next year after you've had that time to rest and refresh. But I'm going to come back to what I said originally. I can't overstate this. You need to take a break, both mentally and physically, to refresh yourself for next season. So that's my tips for getting over the Ironman or the end of season blues.
Nice one. I'm looking forward to rest.
You sound tired, honey. You really do.
I'm
and you should do the day after a race, bless you.
Oh, honestly, I am tired. Clearly, I'm tired this morning because I didn't particularly sleep very well last night. Legs
it's hard to sleep, isn't it?
Oh, I was awake at like 2, then I was awake at 4, and then I think I woke up at 6. So, really, really didn't sleep particularly well. But no, I'm looking forward to a break. And I think I told you I started Pilates last week, so I'm looking forward to doing 8 weeks of that, just something completely different, and hopefully mending my body slightly. And then, I got a few little runs entered for sort of later on in the autumn, just little ones.
Did you go in for the ballot for London? Or you'll have a good for ages time, wouldn't you? You don't fancy marathon next year?
Nope.
Good for you. I put my name in for the ballot, so I get to find out in October whether I get to race London or not.
Oh, great! Yeah. No, I didn't even put my name in for the. I could have done a championship spot. Didn't do it.
Of course you could, yeah.
Didn't. So
ready for a break for you, isn't it? Time for a break.
Ready for a break. I think that was the culmination of 5 years of hard work. So I'm ready to have.
You are done. Crack open a bottle of red wine.
That is happening. I think last night I managed a few slips of beer, which was very nice, but the blackcurrant milkshake was nicer.
Oh wow, good for you.
Yeah, it was very, very good. Now, Rob, I think I'm going to have to go shortly because I think we need to check out of our accommodation.
Oh, there we go. Helen's still down in Tenby. Well, here we go then. We'll hand us over then to our interview of the week for this week, which is with the wonderful Ali Rowatt.
Ali Rowatt, hello and welcome to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. Thank you very much for your time because I know you're a busy kind of person.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me.
It's good to get you on, Ali. How are things? Are you building up to Kona at the moment?
Things are good. I am building up to Kona, but I'm having a slightly easier week this week because I just did the Aberfeldy Triathlon at the weekend. So that's just a middle distance triathlon in Scotland. So I'm just having a bit of recovery this week, and then the proper Kona build will start next week. So that'll be hard.
And
so I'm enjoying some time off just now.
I like it. Do you get? I guess you've been at this in a similar place over the past couple of years, so I guess you're in a bit of a nailed down routine now of how to prepare for the big one in Hawaii.
I suppose you do, because you do get into a routine of kind of the Ironman middle of July or early as you can, I suppose, and then a bit of a summer of maybe a couple more races and then into the Kona build. But I think each year each year's been a little bit different. Some I've been injured, so I've had to qualify a bit late. Others I've done far too much racing and got to Kona burnt, and then others I've tried not to make those mistakes. So each year you kind of try and change it a wee bit, and I suppose learn from the mistakes of the year before. I still don't feel like I've completely nailed a Kona yet. So I'm still learning and still trying to get it right, I think.
So what's the 2017 approach?
The 2017 approach is definitely more recovery after races and not just trying to kind of keep going and digging holes. I think quite often I've got to Kona and not necessarily been burnt out, but it's just a long season. I think Ironman training's hard, and so I suppose just trying to get to Kona a bit fresher. Usually my better races are earlier on in the season, and I think it is when I'm fresh and I'm good to go. So just trying to get to Kona a bit more closer to that shape, so that I can give it a good go.
Do you find it difficult to peak for 2 races in a year? Because obviously you've got that qualifying, you've got to meet the qualification, and then go again where you want to do even better than in the qualifying race.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds a bit silly that, yes, it's only 2 races and it's a full year, but I do find it hard, and I'm not somebody who can race a lot and do very well and, you know, continual racing. I am very much, if I've got a race, I focus on it, I try and do my best at it, but then there's it is then hard to come down from that and then go again, and I have found that hard with Kona each year. And actually probably the best Kona I did was when I qualified at a half Ironman the very first time. That was in Wiesbaden I qualified, and the Ironman was the only one I did that year, and I do think I probably performed the best I've done in Kona that year, so that says a lot, I think.
Do you think part of that was because you hadn't done an Ironman before and you didn't really know what to expect?
Absolutely, yes. Honestly, the fear of the unknown is wonderful because, well, one, you've no idea how you're going to feel, and I think just going into it with such kind of trepidation and expecting the worst and expecting to feel or expecting it to be so hard, and when you find yourself getting through it and able to get through it, it gives you a real boost. And actually I think that was probably one of my best Ironman races I've done, and until this year it was my fastest Ironman race that first year in Kona. So wow. I do think there's definitely an element of the unknown, and there's certainly no complacency there.
Would you say that you were more nervous in that first race or more excited just because it had been on your target, you know, in your sort of dreams for a while?
Probably a bit of both. It really is. I mean, Kona is one of those things that you hear people talk about, and I'd had the luxury, I suppose, of being able to go out and watch the race one year before actually racing it. And I think that almost builds up the anticipation a lot more because you see exactly what's going on and you see the race unfold without the stress of actually having to do it. And then when you're there and going to do it, and also on top of that, never having done an Ironman before, I think it's it definitely adds something to it.
Did you feel a little bit out of depth that first year because you hadn't done the full distance when you arrived there?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely felt it was a real bonus having been to Kona, because I think being in Kona for the first time, having to do an Ironman for the first time, and doing Kona for the first time would have been a lot of firsts. So I definitely felt the benefit of having been in Kona, and I knew the race location and all the kind of hot spots, and you swimming at the pier and coffee at Lava Java, all of that stuff. So from that point of view, it felt much more comfortable, and I knew obviously part of the race because I'd gone out and trained on it when I'd been there watching. So yeah, it definitely helped.
Ali, why do you think that you have been so successful and also so consistent over the past, I want to say like 5 years basically?
Consistency. I think a lot of it is consistency in training. I think if you can keep training as much as, I mean, I do absolutely nothing spectacular in training, but I am very, I suppose, diligent at it, and I'll train certainly every day and mostly twice a day, and I think your body then just gets used to that, and then you are able to perform, and just trying to keep injury and illness free as much as you can. I've not been particularly fortunate injury wise, but I've been able to get through that and then still able to get to Kona and race in the last few years, so I suppose lucky from that point of view.
Do you think your background in hockey as well helped with the mental aspect and the mind games and the
massively,
the psychological side of things?
Yeah, I think my background in hockey, I mean, I think even from the point of view of training and training consistently, I grew up and when I was playing hockey at school, my PE teacher, both of them actually were, one of them was in the Barcelona Olympics for hockey and the other was in Sydney Olympics for hockey. So I grew up watching these female role models who I saw how hard they trained and I saw the rewards they got for it. And, that to me was just, right, that's my mindset. If you want something hard enough, then you just go out and do whatever you can to get it. And you just work blooming hard for it. And I think triathlon's one of those things that usually if you work hard, it tends to pay off.
I love that. Not many people can say they would have had Olympians as PE teachers. That's pretty unique.
It was incredible, and it was it was so inspirational, and I feel so incredibly lucky to have had that. And I do attribute a lot of my triathlon success, I suppose, but just enjoyment and work ethic to those PE teachers.
Are you still in touch with them?
And I don't think you can underestimate the impact that teachers and role models at that age can have on later life.
Do they know what you've achieved in triathlon?
Yeah. And I've spoken to them actually since and thanked them and said, especially it was after my first Kona, and I spoke to my old PE teacher and I said, well, a lot of this is down to you because, it's your work ethic that I followed and saw and, tried to copy, I suppose.
I love that. That is brilliant. And so I guess that or they would have kind of given you the, I want to say like the spark to go as far as you did in hockey.
Yeah, definitely. And that was where I got my first taste of, success and working hard and achieving, I suppose. And I did all I could in hockey, and that was, the point I realised that when I wasn't enjoying it anymore because I didn't feel I was getting out of it what I was putting in, or I was never going to be as good as I probably wanted to be. That was the point that I thought, no, I need to try something new.
Would Olympics have... I was going to say, sorry, would Olympics have been one of your dreams to play?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, when you play, when I do anything, I try to do it to the best of my ability, and obviously the Olympics would have been it. It's slightly harder in Scotland. I'm saying that I would never have got there. I'm not good enough, but it is slightly harder in Scotland because it's a GB team, and the English team are obviously much better than we were as a team. And so for Scottish players and Welsh players to get into the GB team, you have to be pretty exceptional. And we've obviously had exceptional players, the likes of my PE teachers, and they've got to that level, but I was never going to be there. I was never good enough.
What was the moment when you decided to forget the hockey then and switch to triathlon? Was it quite a short time between the two? Was there any overlap at all?
I mean, I can remember the moment I decided to stop playing hockey. I was standing on a pitch in Fourth Bank in Stirling, where I now go to train for triathlon, and I was playing an international match, and the anthem was playing. It was pouring with rain probably, and there was no atmosphere. And the anthem was playing, and I just stood there and thought, the last place I want to be is this pitch, and that's exactly the opposite of how you should be feeling before you're about to play an international. So at that point, I hung up the hockey shoes, hung up the sticks, and I had done the New Year's Day triathlon. I can't remember, maybe the year before that, and just kind of for fun, as you do when you can't really swim and you don't like the cold. And I know, and I'd enjoyed it. I mean, I always enjoyed running, and I did a bit of cycling. As I said, I couldn't really swim, but I fancied a challenge. And I always knew I needed something after hockey. I couldn't just give up sport. So I thought I'd give triathlon a shot.
And I think that sounds like, well, not the hockey bit, but the bit of, entering it, wanting to do it for fun, loving it. I think that's how a lot of us got into it in the first place, isn't it?
Definitely, and it's great that youngsters are now starting to do triathlon for triathlon's sake, but I do think a lot of people my age got into it because maybe they got injured at one sport and they tried a couple of others, or they'd done a bit of swimming when they were younger and tried something else, and I think that's what's brilliant about triathlon. That, you know, I read something Jane Hansen just said. She's not great at anything. She's a bit of a jack of all trades, but put them all together, and you know, she's brilliant at it.
Yeah.
And I do think triathlon's a bit like that, isn't it? You don't have to be a spectacular swimmer, biker, or runner. Put them all together, and you can get a really decent triathlete.
And that's you.
Well, I don't know about that.
Did you make quite quick
Certainly.
progression?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I quickly identified that I was certainly not, and I knew this from hockey days. I wasn't fast, and I had this engine that could keep going and going, and so I realised quickly that if the longer the distance went on, and the less I slowed down, the better I would be at that event. Which is why I probably ended up doing Ironman. But certainly I remember the half Ironman distance was the first time I thought, longer distances definitely suit me.
And for people who might not know, Ali, just in your Kona races, what have you actually achieved there in the past 4 or 5 years?
Oh gosh, I think I was second the very first time. Then I had a very bad year in 14, and then 15 and 16 I was second as well, I think. So 3 second places, I think.
Damn it! So we need to get rid of the the one ahead. Has it been different people each time?
Different people each time. I know. It's not fair. If it was one person, I could at least focus on them and just try. And I don't know what I would do actually. So different people each time.
Oh, and what sort of time? How many minutes off that top podium in your age group have you been?
Well, I don't know what it was the first year, but certainly last year, I didn't have a good race, and I think the winner of my age group was still over 10 hours, and I would usually expect to be under 10. So, it's usually I don't know how long it's, maybe about 10 minutes each time. Sometimes I don't know how what the difference has been. It's never been a sprint finish, put it that way.
Do you ever think, I don't know, if it did come down to a sprint finish, would you have them on the line?
No way. Absolutely not. I have no fast twitch fibres at all. Any I did have from hockey have been definitely converted to the old slow twitch since triathlon days. So no, definitely no sprint finishes for me. That wouldn't be pretty at the end of an Ironman.
Yeah, it'd be just awful. How do you find the swimming? Because you said just before that you weren't really much of a swimmer. Do you still say that you're not much of a swimmer, or do you feel like okay?
Definitely. I mean, I think the thing for me is it's I'm glad it's at the start of the race, and it's always just something I have to get through and try and not lose too much time. And again, that's where Ironman's good, because you lose time obviously, but you've got much more time to make it up. One of the biggest differences actually for me for my swimming has been my current coach Richard Hobson. He's just been incredible, and he's his swim sessions have not, well, one, I enjoy them, which I never thought I would hear myself say, but two, I don't think I'm necessarily much faster, if any, but it's just I'm able to consistently swim at the right pace, and it's just how comfortable I feel in the water compared to how I did before. And I think that's probably one of the most important things for me. I'm not a good open water swimmer or confident open water swimmer, which for Kona is not a great thing, and was probably one of my biggest fears, not even being able to finish the swim in the first Ironman that I did there. So that's been the biggest thing for me, I think, just getting comfortable and confident in the water that I can get from A to B.
How did you overcome those fears? Because again, you're not alone by saying about the swim being the worry, and others listening to this will certainly say, "Oh, yeah, that's me too." So, how might we be able to help them? What have you done to boost your confidence?
Yeah, it's really hard, and it really is just about doing it actually. And it's actually one of the biggest things in Kona. And I go out there maybe in 9-10 days before the race, and my biggest thing out there is to get used to swimming in the sea again. And it really is just a case of getting out and doing it, and the more you do it, I suppose I wouldn't say the easier it becomes, because I don't think it ever is easy for me. But it's just, you get more used to it, I suppose.
And more sort of comfortable in that situation. Yeah. And
I guess it's also about not being complacent again, because I think the minute you become complacent and you think, oh, it's fine, I've got this, I can swim in the open water, no problem, that's when something happens and the old panic attacks creep in. It's when you least expect it. I think it's almost when, if you're expecting something to happen, you're prepared for it, but it's the minute you go in thinking, oh, I've got this, I've nailed it, then that's when danger bells would be ringing for me.
Have you had a panic attack in the water?
Yes. I mean, no, I've heard of folk, having real hyperventilating issues and having to just go to the safety canoes. I, touch wood, haven't so far, but I must admit, I am right now. But I must admit, I am always looking out for safety canoes whenever I'm racing. And actually the worst bit for me is in the lead into the race, when I'm swimming and the safety canoes aren't out yet and you're just in the middle of the sea and anything can get to you. But no, I do constantly look for the safety canoes, I must admit.
Do you? It's really interesting to hear that, for someone who is right up there in the age group at a world level, that you have the fears that many, many other people would have too.
I think if you spoke to a lot of pros, they would have the same thing. I mean, I know some guy pros, and who are great swimmers, and something's happened to them in the water, and it's and they've had these panic attacks, and that's what I mean. I do think it can creep up on you when you least expect it, and I don't think anyone's invincible, and I do think it can happen to anyone, and it's just to be prepared for it, I suppose.
My fingers are very much crossed that you don't get a panic attack in Kona, because if you do, I would feel so bad. So let's move on, Ali. Right, so
eyes out for the safety canoe.
Honestly, I'm touching a lot of wood here.
Yes.
Let's go to Los Angeles. Right, this year you ran a 2:45 standalone marathon, which is not at all shabby. Why did you want to do that? I don't know. I had an inkling at the end of last year that I wanted to do a marathon, and I always thought that was quite good timing for it. I actually had entered Manchester Marathon because I thought, the start of the year is probably the best time to do it. I'm not good at biking over the winter because it's too cold and miserable, and so I could concentrate on my running then, and then pick up the biking when the weather got better after the marathon, kind of come April, May time. So I actually entered the Manchester Marathon, and it was actually Lucy Gossage who was meant to be going to LA with Skechers for the LA Marathon, and she couldn't commit to it, I think, because of work. So they approached me. Well, I think I'd kind of hinted that I would like to do it. So they approached me, and I obviously jumped at the chance. It was the most amazing experience, and for LA to be your first marathon, it was just incredible. And I actually remember running through the deserted streets, these massive wide streets of LA, first thing on a Sunday morning, and the sun's shining, and I'm just had this massive smile on my face thinking, this is amazing. Obviously that's in the first half of the marathon, because after that I was grimacing, but that part was amazing. It was just incredible. And how did you find, other than the sort of surrealness of actually being in Los Angeles doing it compared to Manchester?
A bit of a difference.
Yeah, totally. I think you got a good deal there. how did you?
I looked out there.
How did you find the marathon as a distance, as an event compared to, an Ironman?
I loved it, I must admit. You didn't have the faff of the bike stuff and the swim stuff of an Ironman. You travel out there with a pair of trainers and a vest and a pair of shorts. You turn up, you do a really hard session, and you're done by 10 o'clock in the morning. I mean, there's what's not to love. The distance, I think, really suits me. Enjoyed it. And I can see myself doing more and probably doing marathons after Ironman's done. I'd enjoy it.
The time 2:45 would be there or thereabouts, wouldn't it, for Scotland for Commonwealth Games?
No, it used to be, and actually, because a few people said that it's now. It probably was at. I don't know. In fact, it was maybe 2:44.
Okay.
Which, if it was if it had been that, I would have tried to do another one and get the qualifying time, but it's now down at 2:36 maybe. It's a lot. I would have to take off it, and it just wouldn't be possible.
Yeah, that's quite a chunk.
And there's lots of other girls out. Yeah. There's lots of other girls out there that could do that, definitely.
Okay, but marathons definite on the more of them, please.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I do enjoy it.
Ali, I know you've been asked before, but we'll go on to this now. The whole going pro or not dilemma. What has made you decide against going down the professional route? Because clearly you'd be right. You would be able to do it if you wanted to.
I don't think I ever decided against it. It never really, I don't think, was a conscious decision. I think probably the time that would have been best for me to do it was 2010 after Clearwater. I won the age group World 70.3 Championships and was probably at my best then. And I never really thought about it. I suppose I was still quite new to triathlon and just enjoying it. And I mean, call it luck or whatever, it is lucky I didn't, because I then spent 2 years being on and off injured and not really enjoying it as much. But no, I do triathlon as a kind of to get away from work. And I think the minute I started doing it as work and having to try and get paid to do it or get points, accumulate points for Kona, I don't know if I would enjoy it as much. And I suppose that for me the biggest thing is enjoyment, and I enjoy each year going to Kona and seeing how well I can do my age group, and I enjoy each year going to the qualifying races and seeing if I can get faster. I'm desperate to get much closer to the 9-hour mark. And I don't think, as we've said earlier on in this, I'm not somebody who can race a lot, and I'd much rather do much fewer races and do them really well rather than have to then accumulate points and money and have to rely on it for my income, I suppose.
As a real top-end age grouper who sometimes would beat a few pros, but yet you don't get any prize money if you do that, and say finish in the top 3 females overall, does that get to you a little bit sometimes?
No, not at all. I mean, I think it's a shame the pro races aren't deeper, but I think there's just too many races at the moment for them to be deep. But no, I mean, I don't do Ironman racing to go out and beat the pros. I do it to see how well I can do. I'm quite selfish like that. It's more about me rather than who I can beat. So, yeah, I do wish the pro fields were deeper, but as I said, I think at the moment there's too many races for them to be as deep as they probably should be.
And I guess you've had a good insight as well into the professional lifestyle of a long distance triathlete, and it's not easy at all, is it?
No. And this is what, when people do ask me the question, why would you not turn pro? It cracks me up. It does look a spectacular lifestyle. You travel the world, you race, you train in these lovely places, and social media's got a lot to answer for that. Portraying the wonderful side of it, but it is blooming hard. It's so unforgiving, and one injury and it's that's all you have. I was lucky when I was injured. You can then concentrate on your work, and you're not dependent on the next race to be able to pay the bills. But when triathlon is it, then it's a lot of pressure on your performance, and I don't necessarily think having that kind of pressure on performance gets the best out of. It can get the best out of some people. It definitely wouldn't get the best out of me, I don't think. So no, it's not by any means an easy lifestyle, or as probably as wonderful as it's often portrayed, I think.
And as for your current lifestyle, how on earth do you mix all of the triathlon training and a high flying job? You're a lawyer. How do you do both?
The job's probably not as high flying as it sounds. And so
you're a pretend lawyer. So how do you pretend to be a lawyer, and how do you pretend to be a triathlete?
I feel like a pretend lawyer when you speak to real lawyers from London town.
Yeah, don't worry about them.
Lawyer. I am. I mean, and this will show how much of a pretend lawyer I am, because I'm very much 9 to 5, and I've got an hour for lunch, and I live 15 minutes from my office. So I can literally come home and be on the turbo by 5:30. So I guess it's. I think I'm good at time management, so I can probably fit a lot into a day. But that's what I enjoy, I suppose. It's good to be busy.
That's quite cool. You could be on the turbo at 5:30, and you could be heading out at 7:30 if you really wanted to.
Oh, I do quite often, yeah.
There you go.
For dinner, it usually is 7:30 or 8 o'clock. Got good 2 hours on the turbo done. It's all good. There was a pool that used to be 5 minutes from my work, and I used to try and challenge myself to be on poolside by 5:15. I know it's nuts. See, that's why I'm a pretend lawyer. Come on.
Oh, I love it. And before we finish, talk us about Team Freespeed. You have been with them. When did you start off with them, and how have they changed you as a triathlete?
Well, they've put me in different outfits each year. I think I joined them maybe 2011 or 12 maybe. They are just a fantastic group of very like-minded, brilliant people. And I'll probably get laughed at for saying it, but they really are. They're just amazing friends, and it's just such a great group to be part of. I think we're all quite similar in that we train hard, work hard, and play hard, probably, as cliche as it sounds. But they're just brilliant people. Richard Mellick, the manager, is really good at getting good sponsors, not just sponsors who offer X, Y, and Z, but sponsors that we'd actually want to use, and good quality products that would never hamper our performances. So we've been lucky from that point of view. And we've been lucky that companies approach us and want to sponsor us, because we do end up having quite a presence, I suppose, at races.
And who
they've
buys,
been brilliant, actually.
Who buys the post-race drinks at Kona?
Oh, well, we've got 8 this year going, so I'm gonna get Richard to buy them all. I don't know. That's a lot of drinks to buy, a lot of Mai Tais.
Oh, we will leave it there, Ali. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. That's been brilliant.
There we go. Top interview, Hells.
Oh, all the best for Kona from Ali, who is just one of the most consistently top performing age group athletes out there. And just really interesting, Rob, how she feels, the fear of open water swimming as much as most of us do. And yeah, superb. But I do love her. I like and I respect the decision or not even the decision, the fact that actually I'm a really good age grouper. That's what I want to do. Yeah, brilliant. Really, really enjoyed catching up with Ali. Had a good giggle, and I love the fact that she used to race home from work. Sorry, not even race home from work. Race to the pool to see if she could get into the pool by 5:15.
Sounds familiar, mate.
Genius. I love that.
Good stuff. All right, so just 2 bits of news then before we wrap up. The first one I saw was that we've mentioned Drew Scott, son of Dave Scott. This weekend, Matt Allen, son of Julie Moss and Mark Allen, Ironman legends, had to go his first Ironman, and he finished 3rd overall Ironman career in the male 18 category. Pretty impressive, huh?
Clearly some decent genes going on there, Rob. Absolutely.
Decent genes,
I can't wait for like 25 years down the line when the likes of Frodeno Jr., O'Donnell Jr., Wellington Jr., they all pull on their lycra and do battle. Talking of Wellington, Rob, if you're listening to this like on or before Wednesday the 13th of September, Chrissy Wellington is doing a talk and signing about her new book, To the Finish Line, in Manchester. So it's at the Manchester University. You can get tickets via Ticketmaster and in store. And then Thursday the 14th of September, she's doing a signing at the WH Smiths at the Trafford Centre in Manchester from 12:30 until 2. And then between 5 and 6 p.m, she's doing a signing with Foyles. So for the Trafford Centre one and the Foyles one in Birmingham, you do not need a ticket. But for the Manchester University talk and signing, you do need a ticket. And I know lots of people went. She did a talk and signing after one of the briefings at Ironman Wales this weekend. So lots of people went to that and were inspired, I think.
Brilliant, I bet, yeah. Can't be a better thing to listen to the day before an Ironman than that. That's awesome.
Exactly. So there we go.
And there we go. And the last shout out is the Outlaw Holcombe Half. Entries are now open over at osbevents.com. So if you fancy a decent half Ironman race early in the season next year, or mid-season next year, get yourself entered into that. And there we go. That wraps up for this week, doesn't it, Hells? You go and get yourself into your car and hopefully fall asleep and have some snooze on the drive back home. Congratulations on your race, mate. And I hope that you get a good couple of nights of sleep coming up. Bless you.
I hope so too. Thanks, Rob.
All right, well, listen, you've been listening to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. I'm Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray.
And until next week, have a great, safe training and racing week. We'll speak to you again soon. Cheers. See ya.